London, the fort of the ships, the siege tradition. Derry, the oak grove of the native Irish. The two great traditions of the city. Fast-sailing ship from this port for New York, Virginia. Fast-sailing ship from this port for New York, Quebec. Fast-sailing ship from this port for New York, Virginia, 650 tons burden. Fast-sailing ship from this port for New York, Quebec, New York, Philadelphia, St. John's. Passengers apply to William McCorkle and Son. Osseo, Hiawatha, Minnehaha, Village Bell. 1841, Coppin built the Great Northern along the banks of the Foyle. The largest and fastest steamship in existence along the banks of the Foyle. But Coppin failed to sell the ship, and the yard was closed. Today, his house is instead a source of assistance to the unemployed. Fast-sailing ship from this port for New York, Virginia. Fast-sailing ship from this port for New York, Quebec. Fast-sailing ship from this port for New York, Virginia, 650 tons burden. Fast-sailing ship from this port for New York, Quebec, New York, Philadelphia, St. John's. Passengers apply to William McCorkle and Son. as the sun brightens, the shadows deepen. It is no accident that the words of Derry's best-known air tell an emigrant tale. During the 1700s, Derry, with 10,000 people, was the largest city in Ulster. Its principal export was linen. The weavers were scattered outside the city in cottages, where each had a few acres of land and a cow, and raised some potatoes and flax. The total failure of this great industry in the 1830s led to much emigration. For as the sun brightens, the shadows deepen. Driven in from Donegal by famine, disease, and unemployment, the McLaughlins, McDades, Gallaghers, and Harkins. Overcrowded conditions were natural. Poverty was extreme. Taking heavy toll of life. For as the sun brightens, the shadows deepen. Susan Nayless, aged 15 years. Lucinda Hunter, aged 27 years. William Hannon and his 6 children, who died young. The contrast in 19th century living conditions between the Protestant merchant and the Catholic labourer explain in part the depth and strength of modern Derry's religious divisions. But there was prosperity in 19th century Derry. Small local industries were numerous. Rope walks, tanneries, nail makers. Clay pipes were a flourishing domestic industry. Coopers made their barrels in the cellars of the cow barn. Rope walks, tanneries, nail makers. Flour mills sprang up along the banks of the Foyle, and industry began to move forward. The start of the 19th century saw the beginnings of Derry's growth outside the walls. And rows of little streets had grown up to house the workers, and rows of little streets had grown up to house the workers, and rows of little streets had grown up to house the workers who flocked into the city from the surrounding countryside. Rope walks, tanneries, 2 distilleries, walks shops in Abbey Street, and on the waterside, mills. And industry began to move forward. Within the walls was the Protestant merchant class. On one side of them, the cabin suburbs of the Bogside, to house the native Irish Catholic. On the other, the Wapping, now the Fountain, to house the lower class Protestant. The divisions of modern Derry had been laid. Industry began to move forward. By 1900, Derry's population had rocketed to 40,000. Factors in this growth were the banks, the railways too, and the bridges. And the bridges, and the bridges, and the bridges, and the bridges. The city, the city, the city. And the bridges, and the bridges, and the bridges, and the bridges. The city, the city. The city. And the bridges, and the bridges, and the bridges, and the bridges. The first bridge failed in its purpose. The city, the city, the city. And the bridges, and the bridges, and the bridges, and the bridges. The city. The city, the rise of the waterside, and the bridges, and the bridges, and the bridges, and in the growing volume of trade. The city, the city, the city, and the bridges, and the bridges, and the bridges. The city, the city. The weight of traffic on the modern structure tells its own story. And the bridges, and the bridges, and the bridges. The city, the city, the city. And the bridges, and the bridges. Carlisle Bridge in 1863. The city, the city. The first bridge failed in its purpose, and the bridges, and the bridges, and the bridges. Derry's bridges have proved their worth to the city. The city. The city. And the bridges. Bridges between people are needed too. Bridges of class, bridges of creed. The city. The city. And the bridges. Derry's public buildings signpost the growing wealth of the city. Ionic columns and ungiven sandstone are prominent. The Derry middle classes were noted for their gravity and seriousness of outlook. They closed their flourishing racecourse. Their Fountain Street Theatre was also closed, lest it would administer to the vices of the lower orders. Where there is prosperity, there are signs of it. Solid and substantial middle-class dwellings in the then suburbs of the city. Gravity and seriousness are still strong elements in the Derry character. But they haven't yet succeeded in wiping out the desire for the quick rides. The shirt. The shirt. A garment which sent the city's growth galloping up the hillsides. The shirt. The sewing machine. The shirt, a garment, the sewing machine, the shirt, a garment which sent the city's growth galloping up the hillsides. of the shirt trade adapted the native skill in embroidery to making shirts on a domestic basis, and William MacArthur opened up an Australian market. In 1850, Tilley organized production on a factory basis. Still household names. And these women have built Derry into one of the major centres of the shirt trade. Male employment has never kept pace. Drink was a major problem, and the tradition is still there. Nothing but conversation to while away the hours. Nothing but conversation to while away the hours. Nothing but conversation to while away the hours. Many of the past miseries have disappeared. Derry boasts now of hospital and health services second to none. Altnagelvin Hospital compares with the best anywhere. There is hope, too. Hope in the youth of the city and in their education. There is hope in the rise of the new industries and in the adaptability of the Derry worker. There is hope in the people themselves, a thrifty, hard-working people, conscious of their own responsibility for their city's future, proud of their city and of its traditions. They will not let it die.